Hey everyone, it's Dan, Spiritual Underground Podcast and DTM Woodwork. Heading down to the cabin. Have y'all been listening to any of the podcasts and heard about the Spiritual Underground retreat we had? There's an episode that's down here that's got interviews from when we were here. This is the road on the way down. That looks like maybe a place you wouldn't want to keep on driving by. I'm going to put together some things here, so I'm going to drive down the road. I'll see you at the cabin in just a minute. After that bumpy old ride down the driveway, run into some problems. We've had a tremendous amount of rain this spring here in southern Indiana, and we got a little culvert that's up this way where we got to cross. And let's see, I could show it to you better, but it's really not that important. It was clogged up, water's overflowing off of it. There's a spring up there that runs all year round and comes down through that, and it makes a mess when this place ain't taken care of. And I haven't been here much lately either. Trying to get this podcast and the woodworking business and all this stuff off the ground. You see the cabin back there? So, woodworking. We've been hunting places that are other people's places for most of my life. We've always had a little camp, but we really didn't have some place to hunt. We've been hunting with other people, and in like 98, Dad found a little piece of property down here, this one I'm standing on, that's adjacent to a friend of ours' property. And we were coming down hunting with him. It's actually the place where I grew up hunting, was on the 40 acres that's adjacent to this little piece here. It's about 2.5 acres. And he found this and said, let's build our own place. And we hired a guy to come in, brought the road in, that bumpy road we was driving, brought the road in. He also, the same guy had a 40-acre pine thicket that he was looking to, he had just got him one of those bandsaw mills, and he was looking to make him some money and sell that wood, that white pine off of that pine thicket, or pine forest actually. And so he was bringing us down logs, and we started this project. We built this in August of 1999. We dug the piers for the cabin, and we started. My brother, my dad, and myself primarily. We had friends and loved ones helping us. But it's primarily Dad and I and Neil. And I drew up the plans for it. We went around and we looked at some other log cabins, and we did a lot of research before we started building it. We looked at stick building it too, just conventional stick lumber, studs and drywall, all that kind of business. We decided to do it in a log cabin, something that would have a little more meaning to us, and frankly the price was about the same. So we'll walk up and we see the bridge. We didn't have that bridge in the beginning. We had to build it later on. And I'm not looking at that camera again, so pardon me, but I'm not going to do this all over again. I would just have to get better at looking at it. There actually is a little red blinking light, and that's probably what I should keep my eye on. We didn't have this bridge in the beginning, and so we built it. We had to put it up. There was actually a poplar tree out here in the front yard, and we cut it down. 2 of them, cut it down, drug the logs across there. Got some boards from the same guy who we were getting the logs from the cabin from, and we made a deck across there. Didn't have any handrails or anything, but we were able to carry all the logs from this side because he would bring them on a flatbed semi truck up to the end of the road, and then we would get them in this old pickup truck we were borrowing and drive them back to here, and we'd have to unload them and carry them across. We beveled all the corners 45 degrees. Treated the logs in a couple different ways. We had to put some treatment on the end to keep them from checking on the ends, and we bug proofed and UV proofed the logs for the entire length of them too. And then we would stack them on the wall. So we'll walk up this way. We'll do a little tour. I don't know how good it's going to turn out, but you know, this is just the stuff and equipment that I got, and we'll get rolling with it. The front door. In a little bit I will fire up the generator and we'll go inside. It's dark in there now and we don't have any electricity or running water down here, and the bugs are flying in my faces. We do run some air conditioning. We didn't have any electricity at all down here for a while, and we were running little battery operated fans by our beds and stuff. But then as the time went by, I decided to buy one of those little Honda generators. Now we have a little bit bigger generator and 2 window units in it, so in the summertime we can keep things relatively comfortable, and especially while we're sleeping. So there's the backyard, picnic table, the area, fire pit, everything where there's a spurt retreat and where we hang out when we're down here in the backyard. Around here, as soon as I get turned around someplace back in there is the outhouse. Very necessary thing. Looks like a big limb fell. Back side of the cabin. Do a little close up on some of that wood. I'm looking around to make sure everything's okay. We've had a lot of rain. I don't know how much. I'll bet you $100 the rain gauge is full. So what I was talking about when we said we beveled all the corners, you see all the way down the logs. They were square when we got them, so we cut these. Actually, Dad did almost all that. Took a scale saw, set at 45 degrees. We had miles and miles. At one point, I had a calculation for how many miles of bevels we had cut off. And you know, we cut the ends off like this, and the corners are actually keyed in together. So this actually goes back in here a little bit. What we were finding is the ones we were looking at, these logs were rolling out. The corners were separating on a lot of the square log cabins we were seeing that were around being built in the area. So we keyed them in together so like a mortise joint, where we mortised them together and keeps them from rolling. Same thing at the joints. And I don't see any right here, but there's bound to be some joints. One thing we did, we got 20-foot long logs. Yeah, joints like these. We also we cut a kerf down in here and slid a piece of material between them so that these ends wouldn't roll one way or the other either. Windows and everything's all cased in Western cedar. Some of this stuff come later, like the stoop we didn't have up right off the bat. The porch come a little bit later. We didn't have it built right off the bat. So like I said, we started in August of '99. We had it weather tight and under roof in November of '99. And I think it was like the 7th and 8th weekend. The August 7th and 8th is when we started. And then when we got it done, it was November the 7th. I'm pretty sure either that or the 14th. There's a log up in the top, but I can't read it anymore, where we wrote on what that final date was. The last log. And then we come down one more weekend and got the roof on it, got the windows in, and got it weather tight because my dad had been diagnosed with prostate cancer. So he had his surgery scheduled, and he wouldn't do it until we were done. And the doctor said a few months weren't going to matter. So that's 3 months, if my calculations right. September, October, November, 3 months we had this thing under roof and weather tight. I'm going to turn off the camera in just a second, go down and start up the generator, and then we will go inside. All right, well, come on in. What did I say? Well, you hear the generator running. It gets a little bit loud, but it's worth it. We didn't have it for a long time. We didn't have any lights in here. As you can imagine, it's like dark. It would even be dark in here right now in the middle of a bright daylight. The trees over top are like a complete forest canopy, so hardly any daylight. You know, you can look down in the yard. It's actually kind of hard to see, I guess, but there's only certain little spots of sunshine out there, and it gets dark in here. So we put some lights for reading, and nighttime it's nice. And kind of got spoiled on the electricity, right? Well, here's the kitchen. We have a propane refrigerator, works really good. You know, Amish use them all the time. Got a freezer and a fridge. Keep stuff cold in here all the time. We can keep frozen food in there. Probably come down and eat for a while every time. Let's see. That one light is mighty bright. We'll see what happens if I get a little closer. It's not too bad. Yeah, it ain't bad with that off. Kitchen cabinets, kind of makeshift sink with some water. Just a place to wash dishes when we need to. Have a really nice old range. It's hooked up to the propane tank down front too. The oven works. We make biscuits and gravy. We cook. We can do just about anything we want to do down here. It's almost like home. I say it's primitive, but it is very comfortable. Kind of like it too, man. There's no cell phone signal down here yet, and everything stays. You know, you get down here, you can kind of just disappear and recharge your batteries and check out. We have a little bathroom area. Turn on a light there. Got a composting toilet in there we don't use a whole lot of. A vanity where we can brush our teeth, or you can get something out of your eye, wash your hair, shut the door, fill up the sink with hot water, take a bath like that. Does real well. Also, this is really the only private room in the cabin, so if you want to change clothes or anything like that in private, this is where you need to do that. It wasn't here immediately either. You can see the ceiling's kind of low here. That is not a ceiling. That is the loft above, the sleeping loft. A lot of stuff in here. All that stuff kind of begins to get on my nerves a little bit. I like to do some house cleaning here and get rid of some stuff. Same thing at home. So here's a little story. These steps up to the loft, they are very steep. This is a mahogany that is the what we originally got to, that is now the podcast table. A friend of mine had run into some mahogany or some wood, and I asked him for a piece of it, and he brought me a big sheet of, and I think it was around 10 foot long, 38 inches wide, and 2 inches thick mahogany, one board. And it had been sawed in half with a chainsaw. And we took half of it and made these steps, made the stair treads. The stringers are half of a log off the cabin, sawed in half. You can see we've mortised these into here. That's the right term for a woodworker. I should know that, right? And the other half of that board, it was been carrying around with me for 20 years, and that is what the podcast table is made out of. I might get a couple other shots here. You can see a lot of game animals on the walls. Turkeys have been killed down here. Some of the stuff's been donated. Obviously, that elk and moose and other things like that are not native to the area. A big hornet's nest up there in the top, and you can see the ceiling. I know it's probably kind of a funny shot. Some caribou horns are. We have everything piped up for gas in here too. So those are gas lights that actually work. Those work. All the gas lights. There's ones on the wall. So if you don't want the generator running, and we do that sometimes, we turn all that generator off and sit down here and just run it on gas, and that makes a lot of heat. So it does warm the place up. This is our living area. Probably from upstairs you'll see, I'll shoot a little better shot of it down here. Recliners. The wood stove, what we use to keep things warm in the wintertime, heats up pretty quick. You can see a ceiling fan. That is a real help when it comes to, you know, it's nice when it's hot out for the air and the fan, but it's really the shines of when we want to build a fire and all the heat goes up in the ceiling. That stirs it up and gets the cabin warmed up a lot quicker. It takes about an hour, man. You come down here and it's 25, 30 degrees in deer season or something. You get down here after dark on a Friday afternoon and come in at dark, build a fire. About an hour later, we got stuff warmed up. Once you get the whole cabin, like all these logs warm and all the chairs, all the furniture, everything in it warmed up, then you don't hardly have to have any fire to keep this thing nice, even in the coldest weather. It's getting all the stuff in here. Generator just stumbled. Getting all the stuff in here warmed up is half of it. So we'll go upstairs. Really steep stairs. We didn't want them taking up a lot of room on the floor plan and below. See that ceiling? We did that like a year or so later. It's really nice. Get a look down at the living area down there. It's where we hang out most of the time. Super cool, ain't it? Freaking blessed beyond my understanding. And then up here we've got bunk beds. Most of these we made, these cedar log beds. Dad actually is responsible for making most of them. I made some of them. I did do the rails, the handrails up here. That was something I did real early on. Those are the kids' bunk beds. They don't really sleep in them anymore. Dustin still uses his. Krista uses this bed. It doesn't really matter to y'all. That's mine. Dad sleeps back here in the corner. Got his gear up here. Another deer on the wall. Window unit up here too. We got a window unit up here and a window unit downstairs. We can keep it. Really, what it does drops the humidity down. That's what makes it feel good. When the but it's also a few degrees cooler too, so we can keep it comfortable. Beds, dressers. So that's the sleeping loft up here. Oh, man, I haven't been spending enough time here lately. I really need to do some more. Here's just one more feature. The propane heater. If it isn't really cold, you can just turn on that. If you turn on those gas lights and that kind of thing, you can knock the chill out of here without having to build a full-blown fire. So that helps. And I guess that's about all. Just one more turn around, see a little bit. I'm gonna go run around on the property for a little bit on four-wheeler and check out the pond and the other cabin. Hell, might as well shoot a little video over there at the chalet too while I'm at it. So back shortly, hopefully. I ain't making no promises. I might not, but I'm gonna try. If not, this will be it. If so, I'll see you in a little bit. Hey, drove over to the pond, thought I'd make a little stop over here. Some of y'all that have been to seen the nicotine quitting videos I've done under that Doggone Hunt username and YouTube channel might have seen some of these before too. Big bass. This is the pond. There's some pictures of me in my dad's lap on a bulldozer in this. I got some old pictures of him building it. It's just shy of an acre, best I can tell walking around it. We put some blue stuff in it, dye to keep it looking pretty cool. Actually, it looks like it needs a little more at the moment, but it looks pretty good. It needs to be mowed. The tractor ain't working, man. And you got a place like this out in the country, it's just a constant maintenance issue, like that culvert over there. The creek had been up a lot, the one that comes down in front of the cabin. We got a couple of legs, some posts that go underneath it, so the bridge isn't so bouncy. And those are gone. You know, once in a while we get big gully washers and you end up having to come down here and do a lot of work. The driveway's really in terrible shape. We got a grader box we can put on a tractor and do that. So you see the canoe over there is a dock, and that's where we swim at, is over at that area. Pretty nice cabin. Grass needs to be, or pretty nice pond. The grass needs to be mowed pretty bad, but I should jump in there today. If I was doing anything, anytime you get hot, man, this is a wonderland. That's another thing about the blue. Keeps the weeds out. That blue dye we put in keeps the weeds out, keeps the cattails from growing, and it keeps just the top a little bit warm in the summertime so that the water is not like bath water temperature when you jump in it. So the pond, I don't know, it's about a quarter mile away from the main cabin. Chalet's just right over the hill. We'll run down there now. Back in a minute. All right, I'm back. I'll show you a little bit what I'm talking about, some of that maintenance stuff. You can see the chalet over there behind me. Looked up there, saw from back here. I looked up there and thought I saw a chair on the roof there on the porch. I'll have to come over here and clean this out in a minute. But every time, you know, we got these culverts and you get these gully washers and there's nobody around to do anything about it. And they just flat clog up, man. Clog up, run over, nearly dig stuff up. Just part of having a place out in the country. No big deal. You just got to end up having to fix them, hope it don't get too bad. It's a huge job, and roll with it. Like everything in life, right? Roll with it. So this is an A-frame. This is the first cabin that was built down here. Dad and his buddies built this one. This is on the 40 acres. I spoke about that earlier, and that guy ended up not being able to like handle this anymore. So he ended up needing to sell it, and we bought it from him, the 40 acres next door. And looking out here, this is the same creek that runs by the main cabin. You probably hear it. But there's no water in it down at the main cabin. It goes underground for a piece of time, and it comes back up. So like about 150 yards upstream from the cabin in this creek, the water disappears. About a couple hundred, I don't know what it is, a couple hundred yards downstream from the cabin, the water comes back up and it's in the creek again. In hindsight, I'd have scouted that out and known that before we actually built the cabin. But again, roll with it. Here's the front of it. I don't know what it is, about 12 foot wide or something like that. It's about 20 foot deep. That addition was not on it initially. Got the porch up there and a door you can walk out. Sorry about all the bouncy stuff. I'm just doing this on my iPhone. Knock, knock. Doesn't appear that anybody is home. So, a couple recliners. Now, we refurbished this, and I don't even remember what year it was, but I don't know, I could guess, but it's on the website. It's on my fargohc.com website. Pictures of the refurbishing project. There's also pictures of the cabin building project on that website, fargohc.com. I got quite a few websites. So we tuned it all up. It didn't have any interior siding inside of it at all. We insulated it. We stripped it all the way down to its skeleton. And you can't even see the beams. I was going to show you, but we stripped it all the way down to the beams, stripped the roof off of it, straightened it up, leveled it up, put it back together, and then resheeted the whole thing inside and out, and put metal roof on it, and just got it back in shape. Refurbished it. So one of our inventions. That's the ladder to upstairs. Over in that PVC tube is a counterweight. So that when you don't want to use when you want this up out of your way, it can be up out of your way. And then when you want to, you can pull it down and use it to get upstairs to the sleeping area. So you can see there's a second floor here and a third floor way up there. We call that the crow's nest. See that ladder hanging underneath the floor up there? That's you swing it down and you can get up into the crow's nest and sleep. These beds up here fold down. They latch up against the wall out of the way, and then they'll fold down. You can see the legs out there. They'll sit down and level out. And there's two dormitory size beds out there. The heat, we got an AC unit. We got a generator underneath here. Ceiling fan, lights. I'm not going to turn it all on for y'all. We just run propane heat in here. Little heater, keeps everything in really good shape. A lot of nostalgia in here, man. This is where I grew up hunting. My dad brought me down here when I was a little guy. Sit down here with him and his buddies and listen to them lie. And, that's not the truth. I'm just talking about like they just sit in here and shoot the shit in the nighttime and get up in the morning, go hunting. And man, I got a lot of memories in this little place. We call it the chalet now, just in case you was wondering. No spitting on the floors or the walls. You hear? The little nook, kitchen table, gas lights again. Everything's piped up with gas. You can run it like that. You don't need the electricity if you don't want to. We even got a little range in here too. Operates and works good. Just like home, just a little different, slower paced. Walk outside again. Really don't think there's a lot more to talk about. Kick back on the porch, chill. Sit back here for days. I actually have. I brought Carissa hunting here on opening weekend of gun season, and when it was really cold and iffy weather one time, I took her and we set up on the deck up there and turned on the heat in the cabin. She could go in and warm up, and probably have just as good a chance seeing a deer walking through here as you would any place else out here in the woods, as long as you be sneaky about it. Guess we'll hit some commercials. So, DTM Woodwork. Woodworking business, I got ramping up. I got to do custom woodwork. Matter of fact, today I put together a portfolio thing and trying to ramp that up. I got a little booklet, a little picture photo album I can carry around with me so that I can show people pieces of my work. DTMWW.net. You can find DTM Woodwork, Dan the Man, DTM Woodwork on Facebook and Instagram. So check that out. It's even on Twitter. All that stuff. Subscribe, like, review. If you know me, if you don't, still review me. That's how the word gets out. So check that stuff out. I'm doing refinishing work too, handyman services, just anything generally that has to do with woodwork or handyman stuff. I can tackle this new line of work I got going on. Spiritual Underground podcast, same stuff. Instagram, Facebook, Spiritual Underground is what you're looking for. You can leave the podcast off. If you're watching this, you know where the YouTube channel is. So Spiritual Underground YouTube, Spiritual Underground podcast on YouTube. Subscribe here too. Tell your friends. Maybe they're interested. I'm going to start incorporating some woodwork videos into it. Start trying to get a video, working on getting video element out for this and 12-Step Spiritual Recovery. So there's another one. Go out to Amazon and get Christopher's book. It's now out. He's got 2 volumes. So you get the full volume if you want it. You can get the Kindle version if you want it. And now it's out in 2 volume things. So you can just get the part like where the spiritual sickness gets into you and all that, just the ramp up. And I don't really know exactly where the split is because I haven't had my hands on it yet. It's a little more handy, so that's why it's broken into. And then the second part of it is more the actual steps and the mechanics of the steps. So you can get either side. If you're just interested in how to do the steps, you can get the second part. If you're interested in how the spiritual sickness gets into you, even if you, whether if you drink or drug or don't, then the first volume will get you that. The first volume is like $19.99, I think. Knock down the price some when you bust it in 2 too also. So that video element, trying to get that going on the Spiritual Underground podcast, the DTM Woodwork, and the TSSR, the 12-Step Spiritual Recovery. It's an awesome Thursday morning. Tooling around and decided I had some stuff I haven't been down here in a while. So, and I started having stuff pile up at home that needed to come down here. So for nothing else, I could haul some water because that's how we get water down here. I could haul some water since I was running empty and bring a stack of towels and other stuff I had cleaned. I brought the coffee pot home after the retreat and it hasn't been back, so it needed to be brought back, and just come down here and make sure everything's all right. And another thing is I get to clean the culverts out and get those things cleared so they're not causing any more trouble at the moment. So, I think that's about it. I'm just going to chill out here for a few minutes and I'll go mess with that culvert and then I'll be heading back home. Been asked to speak tonight at a meeting for a friend who is celebrating his 2nd birthday tonight. It's always an honor to do that, so I'll go share some experience, strength, and hope, and give some thought to what I want to say tonight, even though most of the time I don't know. I wing it, similar to what I'm doing in these videos. Just start talking, see what comes out. Thank you all for allowing me to participate in my recovery in this manner today. Love you. Peace out.